Welcome to my world.
From stage to screen, comedy to politics,
Decriminalize it.
he's cannabis's most famous and fearless celebrity. Now, Tommy Chong is ready to cut through the smoke and change the tone of Tilk Radio.
Please welcome the stoner legend himself, Tommy Chong.
Welcome to the Tommy Chong Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tommy Chong Podcast with my favorite producer and manager and all-around pain in the ass, son, Paris Chong. Say hi, Paris.
Hi, how are you? I have to confess that the reason why we didn't have episode 2, we recorded a show, but it wasn't going in through the right microphones, blah, blah, blah. We didn't test it. I didn't test it.
So we had a brain fart.
Now we have a process in place, blah, 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 blah. So it's not going to happen again.
So that's your apology?
It's not my apology. It's just like...
You sound like Donald Trump. Your Honor, I'm innocent. Besides, that wasn't the woman I raped. Yeah, Donald Trump. Yeah.
All right, well, since you brought it up, let's talk about the Drumpf.
The Donald...
That's what, who said that? That's what John Oliver said on his show. He found out. Yeah, because the story was Trump was like trying to mess with Sanders or somebody and say, why don't you use your real name, you know? And it was, you know, like a real ethnic Jewish name, you know?
Yeah.
And then John Oliver did some research and found that Trump isn't Trump's real name. That,
what is it?
Early on, his name is Drumpf.
Drumpf. Oh, that's a really good... It really describes
Drumpf, yeah.
He looks like a Drumpf.
Yeah. So there's been some serious violence going on, man.
Well, of course. I mean, here's a guy on center stage running for president of the United States, talking about Mexicans are rapists and killers and building walls and kicking Muslims out and just asking for an ass kicking.
Oh, and I guess the black people got a little offended when he wouldn't denounce David Duke and the KKK, and he needed more research done on white supremacists.
He's let the world know exactly where he stands and everything, and right now he's standing in the middle of a big pile of doo-doo that he'll never get himself out of.
Well, he says, like, when anyone interrupts him at a rally, he goes, "Yeah, you should punch." If it were the old days, they'd be leaving in a stretcher.
If it was the old days, according to Trump, they'd be hanging from the rafters by the neck.
Dad, you went there? Right there.
Absolutely.
That's what's Billie Holiday's song? Strange Fruit?
Strange Fruit. That's what Donald Trump's really saying. Just like that old guy that punched that young black kid was walking out. And when they asked the white guy why he did it, he says, "Yeah, well, he's a loudmouth. Got to shut the loudmouth up. And next time we might have to kill him." I mean, that's the kind of rhetoric, you know, that's going down in the Trump camp. You know, the chickens have come home to roost. You know, you can't talk like that on a public stage without having some crazy come up and call you on it.
Well, it's amazing when you look at footage from, I guess, the 50s, 50s and 60s, where you see these rallies and you see like some young, like, white supremacist kind of KKK guy just yelling and screaming at the top of his lungs at some black person. It's a crazy amount of anger and hatred.
Oh.
It's intense. And then if you put both images in black and white, you couldn't tell the difference.
You know, remember Nat King Cole?
Yeah.
Well, he was on stage singing on television. And this white guy jumped on stage and assaulted him, right on television.
Nat King Cole.
Yeah.
An American treasure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But at the time, you know, he was one of the first blacks to have his own show, and that pissed a lot of white supremacists off. And this one white guy jumped on stage and
this is on live TV.
On live TV, it's you can look it up. It's in the archives. You know, that was in the 50s. And see, back in the 50s, I was there in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. We had the same kind of racism that's going on now in the South. And we had it just as bad in Calgary. Calgary was just as bad as Texas or Biloxi, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Except the only difference is that all the blacks, or most of the black people in Calgary, were either professional athletes or musicians, singers. But what they would do, what the white people would do to bring them down to their, to their station, so to speak, they gave all the black people nicknames. There was a great wide receiver. His name was Anderson.
Yeah.
But his nickname was Sugarfoot. Hey, Sugarfoot, come on, baby.
Yeah.
That's the way they did it. Like Louis Armstrong was Satchmo. Everybody had a nickname. Like Sammy Davis Jr., I forget what he was called, but he had a nickname too.
And so did these people like their nicknames, or did they?
Well, they had a smile and go along with it, because they were entertaining white folks.
Yeah.
And so in order, but they still were treated very badly.
Yeah.
Like they weren't allowed to stay in the hotels in Vegas when they had performed.
Right.
Sammy Davis Jr. had to go in the back door, in the kitchen, to
because the
get on
supremacists,
stage.
they felt like if a black person used the same toilet, it was dirty. It dirtied the toilet, right? Like
Yeah.
Like weird shit like that,
Yeah,
right?
weird. Hey, listen, to this day, when I was in prison in Taft, there was a guy, the shower shitter, because he would only do his business in the shower. And then people would come in to use the shower later, and they would see this mess.
Big steaming pile of dump.
This mess. And he tried to stick it down put his foot on it and stick it down the drain. But it turned out he was this red-headed white guy that looked like Woody Allen. And his nickname was Mr. Clean.
Yeah.
Because his job was cleaning the toilets in the visiting room. Because he was so prejudiced that he could not use the same toilet as black people, as the other people used, because the black people had to share it. And that's why he did his mess in the shower. So I've seen it firsthand. And I've seen people literally get physically ill being around black people.
Well, that you were telling me that happened with my sisters. Like you took them to Cheech's girlfriend at the time, Barbie, right?
Yeah.
And you took them to the house, and then they had a pool there, right? And then Barbie had some friends over too.
Barbie's sister.
And then Robbie and Radon are swimming in the pool. And then what did she say?
Well, they told us to get out. They said, you'll have to get out because I got friends coming over pretty soon. And so you have to get out of the pool. Because we can't have, little black kids in the pool at the same time as my friends. Because they're prejudiced, they're
racist. Like
they're racist.
That offends them.
Oh,
it offends
totally.
them to see black people in the pool that they're going to use.
That's exactly it.
That's offensive.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the way it was. And listen, when I was in Calgary, we had the band, and at one time our car broke down outside of Olds, Alberta, which was about maybe 50 miles from Calgary. And it was a little sleepy grain elevator, and it was a little sleepy farm town.
Yeah.
And Tommy Melton, the singer, and we went walking down the street. Tommy's black from Amber Valley, Alberta, and this lady walked around the corner. She had a bag of groceries. Tommy took her by surprise. She looked up and she saw Tommy, and she threw the groceries in the air and screamed. She didn't know what to do.
Was she afraid because the word on the street was there was these crazy pot smoking black people that just yearned to rape white women?
No.
Is that what happened then?
No, what happened was that she grew up in a little town that has never seen a black person. And so all of a sudden, here we are on her street.
Was she worried that she was going to get attacked?
No. It just took her by surprise. It would be like seeing a bear all of a sudden, All of a sudden you're walking along and you turn in a corner and here's a big bear.
I don't know, Dad, because bears, are unpredictable. But, black guys, I don't know. They don't really scare me like bears do.
Well, if you've never been around black people.
The reason why is because of what they say around each other. They'll talk about black people together in their own white environment.
Totally.
And they'll breed these crazy lies and these crazy things, and then they'll create this fear.
It's been my experience is that the conversation doesn't even go anywhere near anybody of color until something on TV or something happens, and then the rumors go out,
Yeah.
There's a lot of people in these farm countries, like That's why Oklahoma and Wyoming and those places. And by the way, if you're listening from Wyoming, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of times people on the ranches and they don't see humans, or they don't see anybody but their relatives. And a lot of times they're not even talking to their relatives. And so they don't really have any kind of command of speech. You know, they don't really talk to anybody, maybe to themselves or maybe to their horse or their car.
You mean like how you used to describe like your friend's parents that worked on a farm that don't say a word?
No.
They don't say a word. They haven't seen his son for like a year, right? And
year.
And he goes, your mom's in the kitchen.
Yeah. Exactly. Father's out in the field. Like you know, nothing has changed. Yeah. And you don't get introduced. Like I was a friend standing there, and they say, you know, you expect someone to say, this is my friend Tommy, and he's going to stay with us tonight. Not a word. Yeah. Supper's at 6. Yeah. You know, don't be late.
That guy's probably talkative compared to his dad, huh?
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. And these are the people that have to make decisions, you know, with their life. And so and they're farm people.
And so what do they listen to? They hear the Rush Limbaughs, they hear the Glenn Becks.
That's preachers.
And they hear the preachers. They hear secondhand from their friends, and then they hear the horror stories, and then they hear how black people are they're paying for all these black people, and they're just living on high on the hog. The welfare queens that are just
the
like
pimps and the whores.
And they're just making money off of their hard work. I see it as many different facets that have created this craziness, right? Yeah. I think first and foremost is Obama and his success, right? Or his winning the election, right? So he wins the election, and then they start saying, oh, well, he's not American. He's going to take your guns. He's Muslim. He's from Kenya. He's a plant. He's Satan. And then that was the first round, right? Then I also feel that after Trayvon Martin, and then Ferguson, and then Laquan McDonald, all these kids that were getting videotaped, being killed, being executed by cops. And so that stoked all the unrest in the poor black community, right? Because they're going like, hey, I've been telling you that shit's weird, that we get treated differently.
Well, there's another angle to that too. You see, back in the first riot in L.A., the Watts riot. That was started with a traffic stop and police brutality, and then the crowd gathering around a hot, muggy day, and they had enough of that shit, and so they started throwing rocks.
This is just after Jim Crow, right? So it was
during.
So this was during segregation.
So what? Well, no,
it was just after.
Little after.
So just after.
Just after that.
So they finally got it where the segregation's outlawed. Yeah. And then it's still just simmering underneath, right?
Yeah. Well, because the cops they treat the black communities like
because they go Supreme Court, segregation's over, and then they go we'll see about that, and then they start beating the shit out of people even more, right?
Yeah. Well, they do it. To this day, they do.
So that's what I saw, Dad. That then you see the Ferguson effect, where there's all these riots, right? And
there's one other underlying theme that went on with these riots. They were the same as the soccer riots in England. What it is, they get a mob going, and you got a lot of poor people in that mob, and next thing you know, they're breaking store windows, and next thing you know, they're looting, and next thing they say, oh, let's go get the TVs, let's go get this, let's go get that. Yeah, just anarchy breaks up.
No, I get it. So, you're totally on my point. We're on the same point, and my point is that I'm looking at it from a perspective of this weird, isolated, scared white Republican conservative that only listens to Fox News and talk radio, right? Yeah. And then I see what's happening. I see the president is a black guy, which I'm completely uncomfortable with, and I think there's a big conspiracy. He must be Muslim plant, from Kenya, right? And then I see that like the black people in the cities are going nuts. They're looting, and they're coming for us. It's race wars. And me and my friends, we've already talked about what we're gonna do when there's a race war, because that's what white supremacist Republican crazy people, they prepare for this shit. You know what I mean? They get all their assault rifles and they put away their water, and they have like, you know, they're ready to kill people.
Yeah.
You know, kill black people. Yeah. That breeds this even more of this fear. And then big old white Trump comes along and just starts hitting all the right buttons.
Yep.
He hit the Mexican problem, which, by the way, I'm a white supremacist, you know, thinking that they go that way. And of course, man, yeah, these Mexicans they're just walking all over us. They're just taking our jobs, and there's no.
Well, look at what happened before the Mexicans. We had a thing called hemp. It was hemp. It wasn't, and it was cannabis, but it was hemp. Hemp this, hemp that. They got towns in New York named Hempstead. They got places named hemp. Okay?
Yeah, and DuPont came along.
Then all of a sudden,
Hearst and DuPont.
The Mexicans come along and they started smoking this.
I don't
hemp.
think it was that. I think.
Well, listen.
I think historically the Mexicans were always smoking it. It was the strategy of just identifying hemp with that.
That's what I'm saying.
You know?
That's what I was going to say. Before the Mexicans smoked it, it was hemp and it was legal.
But I think the Mexicans were always smoking it. They were.
No, yeah.
So it wasn't before. I think it was when they decided that we need to have a war on hemp. Is when they said, well, looky here. We got the
right.
black people's drug of choice, the Mexicans' drug of choice.
That's right.
And they're crazy. They're going to rape all our white women.
And what happened, like in the book of Congress is written, you know, that marijuana, well, heroin first, but they said marijuana made black jazz musicians horny for white women. Because that's their biggest fear. Their biggest fear wasn't the black man. It was the biggest fear was what the black man was going to do to the white women who... The white women loved the black.
But I think that it goes deeper than that, Dad, because I think there's something genealogical that's inside these guys that have slave owners in their history, you know, in their ancestry. Yeah. So they have slave owners in their ancestries, and those guys, they committed some crazy thing. They beat the shit out of the man, raped the woman, beat the shit out of everybody, killed everybody, just terrorized everybody. So I think there's a deep-seated fear that karma's gonna get them, and they're gonna be the slave one day, and their woman's gonna get raped by the black guy.
And there were periods in history where that actually happened,
where there was a revolt.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Can you blame people for revolting?
Of course not.
I can't.
But you also got to remember that the slavery caused by black people themselves. You know, there were black tribes in Africa.
Well, no, it was the Portuguese that started hiring some of the mercenary black people.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like the capos in the concentration camps. You know, the Jewish capos were the cops that they were making putting people in the oven. Okay. Oh, that's a good time to take a break, I think. I need a good smoke break.
Well, stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Tommy Chong Podcast, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Ganjapreneur.com, your guide to the cannabis business world. Ganjapreneur.com is a comprehensive resource for cannabis professionals and entrepreneurs. Download the Ganjapreneur app on your smartphone or tablet to catch up on cannabis industry news, scroll through our daily job listings, and learn about successful cannabis companies, executives, and investors. Ganjapreneur.com, helping Ganjapreneurs grow.
The next generation of vaporizers has arrived. Vuber vaporizers are blazing the way with unparalleled technology for oil, concentrate, or dry flower pens. Providing unsurpassed customer service and expert craftsmanship, Vuber vaporizers use cutting-edge technology, providing a power-packed, smoother vapor with a lifetime guarantee. Experience vaporizing the way it was meant to be. The Vuber way.
Educator, author, and advocate Dr. Mitch Earlywine is here to tackle the burning issues.
And I'm here to clear up the myths about cannabis and burn them away with science.
CannabisRadio.com presents a no-holds-barred platform that seeks to redefine and revolutionize the entire scope of the cannabis culture while opening the door for more to join the cannabis crusade.
Dr. Kevin Hill.
You can't ignore the fact that, like alcohol, most people who use don't have a problem. So I think that you need to think about policy in that way while educating people properly about marijuana. I think that's the way to go.
burning issues. Only on CannabisRadio.com.
The Tommy Chong Podcast is back, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Hey, this is Tommy Chong, and we're back at the Tommy Chong Podcast with my favorite
Just go on, man. Let's get back to it.
Pain in the ass. Producer, Paris Chong.
So I see it as like, this fear from the black president, then this new movement like the Black Lives Matter, which really upsets people.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand why it upsets people, because I look at it as like, okay, if I was black and I'm in a black neighborhood and I don't know any white people, and all I see is just how these crazy cops are killing my friends and family indiscriminately, and then I don't really see it happening to, the rich white people, I'm going to go, well, listen, I think Black Lives Matter, and then that's a movement. But for some reason, it's an affront in that we should be thinking all lives matter, and I think that's such a cop-out.
Well, what it is, they co-opt. That's how they stop movements. They co-opt it. Now, you look at what Trump's done. Trump has borrowed from Bernie. He borrowed from Hillary. He borrows from Ted Cruz. He borrows everybody's thing because he doesn't have a riff himself. So what Trump does, he goes up without a speech or anything. He watches TV and he sees what works for everybody else, and then he co-opts it. He just takes it over.
Yeah. That's where he's successful as this outsider, because he'll say shit that's so not like a typical conservative.
Yeah.
So you're right. There's something there that he's touched on, and he can do that for one reason. One reason only. The reason is that he is financing his own campaign. He's loaning it to his whatever. But listen, that's what billionaires do. You know what I mean? He doesn't answer to the Koch brothers. He doesn't answer to the guys where he couldnn't say that stuff.
No, because Ted Cruz and all that, they have to kneel down.
Most conservatives cannot say Iraq was a bad move, because who contributes to their campaign? A lot of these war companies. Yeah. Right? Oh, yeah. So Trump can say that shit because he's not getting any Halliburton money. He doesn't give a fuck about Halliburton. No.
Exactly.
So he just
and again, it wasn't Trump's train of thought. That was Bernie's. That was Hillary's. That was not Hillary's, but it was Bernie's train of thought.
The intelligent people.
Yeah, it was Bernie. And Trump saw that and instinctively said, "Well, that works. Okay, I'll use that." Trump has no
original ideas
at all. Not one. And you can look at his hair and see that. Because what Trump's done with his hair shows the man himself. He's stuck in the 50s.
I'll tell you, listen, with that big ass head and that big ass face, he's done a great job with what he's been given. I don't think you could figure out another hairstyle that would work. I think he's tried it all, and that's the only one that fits his country club punk ass image.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is. I mean, can you imagine a bald Trump? Or can you imagine a Trump with an afro? No. Yeah. No, that's who he is. Yeah. And if you want to know who he really is, he's a wrestler without wrestling, without doing the body slams, without getting in the ring. Yeah. He's in there calling everybody punks and everybody out like the wrestlers do.
Yeah, and I listened to an interesting thing about where I think Les Moonves, and he's the head of NBC or something like that. CBS. And he was just saying, man, listen, he was at like some shareholders meeting, and he was like, fucking, Trump is a godsend. Our numbers are so high. We're making so much money. And so then it's a for-profit news company, right? And then you're going, well, fuck, man. If the crazy guy gets all the time on air, he's just going to stoke up more crazies, and there you go. He's got these big crowds of nutcakes.
Yeah. Yeah. And followers, the sheep, this, like if you ran sheep off a cliff.
I see the fear in them when they're like, yeah, well, I like Trump. That Trump's my guy. I can see through it, and I go, oh, this person's afraid of black people, of poor people.
Yeah.
They don't want to live in a society where there's justice for all and everyone has an opportunity. They prefer it when it's only the upper class.
You know what it is, Paris? You know what it is? Scapegoat. That's the word. You know what a scapegoat is?
Yeah.
You tie a goat to a stake and you blame him for all the evils of the world.
Yeah.
This is what Trump has given those followers a scapegoat, be it Mexicans, blacks, poor people, Jews.
No, you're right on the poor. I think on the poor level, Dad. But I also think there's this train of thought, and I've seen this, because you've sent me to private schools, you've sent me to a lot of places, and I've had access to very exclusive clubs, kids of diplomats and politicians and famous people and old money.
Yeah.
And I've seen this with old money, and there is two worlds, man.
Yep.
And they like the fact that public schools are fucking shit.
Yeah.
When you go to a really good private school, it's impossible to get in, and it's fucking super expensive. So you better be rich, and you better be fucking smart and work your ass off.
And connected.
So what it is that they want their they don't want their kids to have to work hard. No. They're gonna roll out the carpet for them. Yeah. And those people don't say this publicly, but that's how they feel.
Oh, yeah. They treat people like peasants, Being able to recognize the fellow human being as a human being is stuff that saints are made of. Yeah. And it's very rare in every society, in every civilized generation, that there are people that recognize that. Like JFK, John Kennedy, he was one that recognized. Of course, anybody that's been in the war, has been in a war, been in a firefight, they recognize the value of your buddy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where he's from. That motherfucker saved my life.
Yeah.
I owe everything to him. And so whatever he is, he's Mexican or whatever,
I think
I'll never go against it. But Trump and those guys have never done that.
You've touched on something very interesting. I think that what you realize when you're in a war and it's like people are dying and you're killing people, they're killing people, and it's life or death, that all of a sudden your values and your morals go much deeper, because money doesn't mean anything. No. Right? Like there's no, you're not worried about, oh, hey, am I going to get that house? You're like fucking, man, like someone's going to, I don't want to get my arm blown off and I'm hungry. You know what I mean? So, and my buddies are starving and we're all scared and shit. And we've been through this and so I think your values get into a really, get into a really deep place where you tear away all of the material things in life, and you get down to love and soul. You know what I mean?
That's where a lot of people find God.
Yeah,
and it's just like prison. Like my old buddy Steve, my dog. He would tell me what people do. They discover the Bible in prison, but when they walk out back into society, they leave the Bible by the door.
Well,
they leave the Bible
because what is valued in society, in our society, in America, in the United States, and most of the Western world, is what is the most valuable thing? Money.
Yeah.
So we worship money.
Yeah.
Our media is money. Our schools, we're just cutting down science. We're cutting down humanities. We're cutting down, literature and art and music. Because we got to figure out a way to make money, and how are we going to be more productive and make more money. So, and then we're all these cogs, we're all these robots that are just trying to figure out a way to make money. And what the humanities, what literature does. And I've had the same train of thought where, hey, you got to be productive. You just got to think practical and get an engineering degree or something like that. But then I was lucky enough to have gone to some literature classes and then studied some art and studied these things, and they really open your mind to the deeper, more valuable, intangible things in life. Mm-hmm. That's what's important. And I was listening to this Republican congressman that was 15 years for Oklahoma, and he was talking about that. He was talking about how the Republican Party in our society values just money over creating a great, well-rounded human being that thinks for themselves and thinks critically. And what he was saying is that we're creating this weird thing where we're not creating good citizens. We're creating good robot or workers, you know, and I thought that was interesting coming from a Republican, you know what I mean? Because it was a very thoughtful approach to what's going on.
Yeah. When you face a life and death situation like I just recently did, laying on your back, you know, thinking that you might not wake up the next day, you start going over in your mind what really is important. And a lot of things go out the window, you know, that was seemingly important. You know, the nice car, the boat, the house, you know, the trappings, you know, the country club, all that setting. You know, it goes out the window. And then what really matters is a kind word, a smile. Then you start looking around, and then you start seeing the world through love eyes. You know, that's what I call them. They're love eyes. You look out, and then you also realize that, you know, this is just a phase that I'm going through. And this is what I got to tell people about Trump and what's going on. It's a phase. We're just going through a phase. We will get out of this. It's going to be so interesting. You know, the next few years are going to be so interesting to see what's going on, because the cell phone has educated so many people so fast. Society can't keep up with the kind of knowledge that's being spread around and that's being shared. And then all of a sudden you find, in fact, you see a lot of millionaires or billionaires sitting there with a lot of money but no friends. You know, or no drive in their life. You know, nothing really tangible, because it's just like when you get a new car, interesting for the first hour. Then after that,
yeah, totally.
Yeah, and then what's next?
You're like the rich spoiled kid with the toys. I don't want that.
Yeah,
I really want this.
I don't want that. Can I stop opening my presents now? I'm tired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was so lucky that I grew up poor. And I didn't know I was poor, because I thought I was warm and I was well fed and I had things to do.
I'm not afraid of Trump. I'm not scared of what he brings to the table, because I think what he's doing is shining a bright light on some systemic problems in this country. Because right during the Trayvon Martin thing, you know, the whole conservative party was like, we're over racism. Why does Obama keep bringing up race? We've done that. We're good. We're all happy. You know what I mean? Let's move on. You know, you're trying to divide the country. I realized, you can't just make that happen.
Did you notice what happened in the last few news cycles?
What?
They don't blame Obama for anything.
Well, it's absurd now.
That's what I'm saying.
No, but Dad, Bobby Jindal tried to say that the reason why we're having problems with Trump and the racism is because Obama.
Well, that's Bobby Jindal.
Yeah.
That shows you.
But they have the gall to say this kind of shit.
That's the bottom of the pile.
Yeah.
You know, you put Bobby Jindal, and Rick, what's his name?
Snyder,
the Flint, Michigan guy. Now look what he did. He took fresh water and put poison water to the people of Flint.
I don't even fault him for trying to save a buck, but I fault him tremendously when he got the word that it's a bad idea and people are getting sick, that he didn't act immediately.
No. 2 years.
Crazy, man.
2 years. That's the guy that's talking about
Dad,
Obama?
I guarantee you he went home and he said, honey, get a water filter. Don't let the kids bathe in the water. Don't let the kids drink. You know what I mean?
Well, he didn't live there. He never lived
he
in
never
Flint.
lived there.
No, he lives in Detroit.
Oh, that's right. So it's just Flint, yeah.
No, it was the black folks in
his
Flint.
Water's good.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, tell me something I give a shit about.
Yeah. When I saw Trump and Christie together, I thought, oh man, Sopranos, back.
Yeah.
And
Uncle Pussy, yeah.
And they're running for president. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Because Trump talks, more he sounds like a soprano.
For sure.
He's from Jersey. Sure. Believe me, it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a lot of things that are changing right now. There's this whole Trump phenomenon. And then there's Bernie's down by 20 points. There's no way he's going to win anything. And then all of a sudden, young people come out to vote. And because, what is it? When they do these polls and they do these phone banks, they're calling landlines. I haven't had a fucking landline for 15 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So they're not calling you.
Good luck trying to find me on a landline. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Or any young kid.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't even have fucking cable, you know?
You watch TV And just by the commercials, you can see the age of what people watch TV. You know.
Yeah, on your channels.
Yeah.
The Viagra commercials.
Cialis.
Yeah.
Cialis. Yeah. Have an erection over 4 hours, you call your best friend.
I've been seeing a lot of catheter commercials.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Tons of catheter commercials.
Old fuckers watch TV.
Yeah.
You know, the young kids, they watch their cell phone, they watch their iPad. They don't watch TV.
And I think, like, about having a crazy Trump out there and crazy cruises is that if it was like the last couple election cycles or even the last few or several, you know, they're splitting hairs. They're very similar and it's fucking boring and they'll put you to sleep. They don't say what they truly mean. They're just, you know, creeping around stuff. So as a young kid, you're like, who gives a fuck? They're both the fucking same, you know? But at least here, there's definitively something terrible going on with the Trumps, and they can see, like, people are getting bloodied up, and
it's like the water in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah. Because, you know, kids, they're like, most kids have been raised very well. I don't think that kids in general are just shitty. I think that I feel like they're more polite than a few of the generations that I was a part of, you know? And I think that my brother and my friends that are raising kids, they make a real point to try to teach them how to treat others and how to behave,
how to get along,
and don't be a bully and all these things. So these kids are seeing this shit going on. They're going, what the fuck, man? How did that guy get popular? You know, to them, it's crazy.
Who's that, daddy? But you know, the one guy I really feel sorry for.
Who?
I think about him every day. Is Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart, I'll tell you, his head would have exploded by now.
Yeah.
Now that Trump's on, if Jon Stewart was still on TV, his head would explode because Trump keeps coming up with these Trumpisms that just blow your mind.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that when we come back. Okay.
Good idea.
We'll be right back. Stick with us. Smoke a bong hit, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Tommy Chong Podcast, only on CannabisRadio.com.
CannabisRadio.com keeps you in the know Monday through Friday on air and on demand with Cannabis Radio News, presented with the definitive worldwide news source, the Associated Press. Stay informed with exclusive news on all things cannabis. Cannabis Radio News, live weeknights at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, during the Russ Belville Show, or download the daily podcast exclusively on CannabisRadio.com, as well as iTunes, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. When breaking news happens in the cannabis industry, Cannabis Radio News delivers the details first.
Doc Rob, the concierge for better living.
Cannabis is just one of the many great plants that we have on this planet called Earth that we can use consciously and intelligently to improve our well-being.
Take a real, raw, inside look at healthier living while sharing great ideas and improvements for a better quality of life.
Learning to live and live well is a lifelong process. This is a journey. You could be 80 years old or 8 years old. You can still learn something that's going to make tomorrow a little bit healthier, a little bit easier, a little bit happier, a little bit better.
The concierge for better living with Doc Rob. Only on CannabisRadio.com.
The Tommy Chong Podcast is back. Only on CannabisRadio.com.
We're back. Yeah, I was just thinking about Jon Stewart, man, because his show was it was the only show you could watch.
So you don't think Noah's doing
I don't get a connection with Noah that much, you know. Yeah. Not like I did with Jon Stewart. There's something about Jewish guys.
Well, Dad, but you can't expect to build a connection like Jon Stewart has in a season, because, you know, people didn't start recognizing Jon Stewart's brilliance until like the 5th year, 6th year.
No,
you know?
No, I know, I
right?
know, you're exactly right. But there is a perspective that Jon Stewart brings that no one else can.
No, he created it. His show. That show created. What a lot of people consider real news.
It's sarcasm and irony.
Yeah,
it was right there, and like he would take what they would say, like Sarah Palin or something like that, there, and he would just riff on it until
So, Dad, did that process just burn him out?
I think so.
So literally he got burned out, huh?
I think
because
so.
I mean,
well, you know what he did? He directed a movie, and he found out what it's like to be normal.
oh, you mean to not have to wake up and do a new show every single day of your life, and only get like 3 weeks off a year?
Yeah, and just be normal. Play with your kids and get to know your kids and your wife. And I mean, we take this for granted because we've been doing it, for years. But Stuart,
No, but you got burnt out on the road. You were like, man, my life's passing me by.
Yeah.
And then you did movies, and you're like, oh, I found it. This is it, right?
Loved the movie.
Because when you started doing movies, you phased the road out, right?
Yeah.
Completely.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. We quit our live
and
show
and doing a show, a daily show, a freaking daily show, man.
Yeah.
Every day.
The news. And
current events.
Riffing like he did. Oh, my God.
It must be exhausting. I mean, hey, Chappelle, he burnt right out,
Yeah.
Have you seen Samantha Bee's stuff?
No.
So she was on Jon Stewart's show. She was one of the lady comedians who does her segment, and they didn't offer her the job, And so she's got her own thing on like TNT or TBS.
Oh, that's good.
And she's killing it. She's got the Jon Stewart, but then she's got this female approach to it, which is incrable, man.
I gotta see it. Is she a white chick?
Yeah, like a redheaded white chick, and
Oh,
and her husband is one of the other comics on the Daily Show too.
Okay,
you'd recognize both of them for sure. And then there's John Oliver, who's a Jon Stewart alumni, and he's got his HBO show.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal, but it's not. It's like it's like a weekly thing.
Yeah.
So Trevor Noah is the Daily Show, and listen, I enjoy it, but I do believe that what a tough time. And what a tough job to take over,
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like trying to replace Johnny Carson,
And that took a little while.
It never happened, really.
Yeah, I mean, Jay Leno had to create his own Jay Leno show, and it took him years, right?
But what's going on in the world now is so good for the world. It's so good. Can you imagine Trump? His idea of deportation, he goes back to the 40s when they literally put Mexicans in trucks and drove them down and dropped them off in the desert.
Yeah.
And many died.
Yeah.
Many died in the desert. And Trump's solution to deport the people, the dreamers that are here, that have been here for years.
Yeah.
That's his answer for them. Put them in trucks, drive them to the desert, and drop them off.
Well, and I also think that it's a very interesting time because the whole notion of regime change, get that guy's evil. Let's get him out of there. We'll put our own guy in. We'll let them elect their own. That whole mentality, that simplistic view of the world. That simplistic view of how governments work or how society works is out the window. They're realizing now that shit creates more mess than it solves. And so there's a lot of crises in the world, but I think that the frame of mind to combat these crises has gotten away from regime change and bombings and all those things. And they're trying to figure out solutions, because they realize you take that guy out, it creates a vacuum, it creates ISIS, and then next thing you know, the problem's on your doorstep. They're literally on your doorstep. Syrians and Middle Easterns are coming in droves trying to escape that war and trying to get and going right to Germany. Going right to France,
or being stuck in Macedonia.
Yeah, Macedonia and Turkey. It's
being
so
stuck. There's a camp in Kenya, I believe, where they have been fighting for years and years and years, and now they're slowly starving the people in the camp to death.
So like a genocide.
It's becoming that because they forgot about that war. They forgot about the refugees, and because they're in Kenya, they're from another tribe. They're not allowed to work. They're not allowed to build anything permanent. They're just kept in camps, and they're literally being starved.
Well, that's I feel like the ceasefire that's going on in Syria is a direct result of the aid workers not being able to get in there and seeing. And then when you see these images of these poor kids just starving to death.
Do you know why the ceasefire took hold?
Why?
They ran out of money. Russia was invading, with the planes and everything.
Yeah.
That's expensive. That's millions of dollars a day.
So they spent their budget? on that?
No. Well, Russia's been sanctioned because of the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of deals that aren't happening with Russia.
And then the oil prices that are low.
Oil
and all that
prices are
kind of
low.
stuff,
And
yeah.
so all of a sudden Putin said, what the fuck am I doing?
Well, he says, I did what I can, but, Bashar, you got to take over now.
We got no money.
Yeah, we got no money. But the rebels and ISIS, they are kind of ceasefire too in those areas, haven't they?
By all accounts, they're going on. We don't know really what's going on there. We don't know. The military's not telling anybody. But apparently they're taking out a lot of ISIS people.
Yeah.
Bombing them.
Yeah, they're getting them.
They're getting them.
Yeah, but Trump apparently is going to really get them. He's going to get their families. He's going to be so vicious. He's going to get these terrorists. He's going to get them.
And get their families. What's his name?
You know what he's going to do? He's going to pretend they're going to come over for a party. And then he's going to take them. He's going to take them to a field. And that field's going to have two ditches dug already. And he's going to tie those guys up and beat them with baseball bats and put them in the field. And, oh yeah, that's a Scorsese movie.
Yeah. Oh my God! When I see when they ask Trump his position on anything, I just look at the wheels rolling, and he's got this nervous habit. He takes a mic. He's got this nervous habit. Then he does something with his fingers. His fingers way back and forth. Then he takes a mic. I like feminine. He takes a mic with his little fingers, and he moves it. He doesn't move it anywhere. He just touches it, and then things like bothers him. Yeah. He kind of reminded me of Cheech when Cheech got upset with the photographer in front of everything. Yeah. Trump reminded me of Cheech when Trump came on one time. The lights, turn off the lights. Everybody chant, turn off the lights, turn off.
Yeah. No, he's got that stuff. And then I love it that in Ohio where the guy rushed the stage and he turned around like, holy shit, And then he goes, I was ready for him. That guy, I was ready for him. He would have cracked his ass,
I would have punched him in the face.
It was like when Connor and Nate Diaz fought, and then they went to their weigh-in, and Connor's just talking shit, Nate Diaz was talking shit, and then Nate Diaz just gave him one of those gangster flinches, and fucking Connor flinched,
Big time.
It's like, and that's what we saw with Trump that day, is that Trump flinched.
Yeah.
And he's scared. He's a scared dude.
He should be. He should be.
Well, yeah, because when you talk that kind of shit, talk that kind of, I'd like to punch him, that's a lot of fucking talk,
He should know from his golf experience, when you fear something, that's when this shit happens.
But like in life, like in golf, he's a cheater. We've heard that he's a big cheater on the golf course, and listen, in my experience, I've heard a lot of people, he's a scratch golfer, he shoots at this, he shoots at that. And then I've played with these people, and, the scores just don't match.
No.
I've seen and met some legitimate scratch golfers, and then I've seen some really good golfers that have a couple good holes, but then they have these, terrible holes, and the numbers just don't add up.
You just got to watch Golf Central. And watch Jordan Spieth lately.
Yeah.
He's shooting 78s, 80s.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can't get his game back.
And he's the top.
He's number one. He's
Yeah.
number one.
Yeah. Yeah.
It happens to everybody, man.
But when you live in the Donald Trump, bullshit world, I mean, listen, families got to stick together, but he's a fucking embarrassment. I guess that they're stuck in their own little world, and they're isolated, and no one questions their tactics. Like, do you think that his daughters or his kids are a little upset or embarrassed about some of the shit that Donald's doing? Because at first he was just running a campaign. Yeah, he said some crazy stuff, but now it's gotten to this really like, well, what do you describe it, Dad? How do you describe like what it's come to now? Where
maniacal.
Maniacal. Like, yeah, get that guy. Yeah, I'll pay for your legal bills. Yeah.
Well, do you see the latest? He says he never said that.
He never said anything. He never said that. It's the media. Hey, the media. These fucking guys.
Yeah.
You know what he's saying? That he says, these fucking media guys. They're the worst. They lie about everything. You know what he's saying? He's saying they call me on all my bullshit. You know what I mean? Because that's what they do, and that's why all those people hate the media. Because the media, when they're doing their job, they're fucking calling you on all your bullshit.
They're fact checking before the words come out of your mouth.
Exactly.
They're fact checking, and that's their job. That's when I decided that I really wasn't a writer, because being a writer, you do research. You do research. When Trump says anything, they're very attentive, and they're going to write down every word he says.
Well, you mean like journalism? Like
Yeah.
that's a different kind of writing than creative writing, you know?
Yeah. Well, any kind of writing. Like if you're writing a novel or something, you got to do research.
Totally.
Years and years of research, so you know your subject.
Yeah.
And that's the trouble with Trump, because Trump figures, well, I'll get on stage and I'll talk like we did at the show I had, The Apprentice.
Yeah.
I'll just go out there and I talk. You're fired. I can say that. I can do that. Hey, and you're hired.
No, but the crazy mentality that he's getting at the rallies, they love it. That's their guy.
Paris, when you look at what Eisenhower did in the 40s, and Trump made a point of bringing it up, saying that, that's his research.
Yeah.
We did it before in America, just like they put Japanese in internment camps. We did that before. We can do it again.
Yeah.
What's to stop us? We got to make America great
but
again.
you see, that is the most simplistic, bad, kind of dumb view of the world. The world is complex. These are complex issues with historical meaning.
You know what my favorite Trumpism is?
What?
What he's going to do with China.
What's he going to do with China?
Whoever made the deal with China was stupid.
Yeah.
Believe me, I get in there, we're going to turn that around.
And they go, how are you going to turn that around? No, I get the right people. Yeah, don't fucking worry about it. You busting my balls? Hey, get this fucking guy out of here.
When you get trade deals with China, yourself, in Indonesia, India, Africa, who's the businessman? The Chinese.
The Chinese,
The Chinese run all the business. Trump, with his little book, is going to go, and you're going to talk to these people, and you're going to make a better deal. Trump is lucky if he leaves that he's still got his jet.
Dad, it's the classic.
He will take everything from him.
It's the classic gangster movie.
Yeah.
The gangster, he's the big shot guy in his neighborhood, and then all of a sudden the fucking Colombians come to town, and holy shit, man, hey, we gotta talk to these guys, hey, you know what I mean? It's the classic one, right? They talk all this shit, and then the Colombians, the Russians, the Chinese, the triads, it's like, then they go, oh, fuck, hey, we gotta be more diplomatic around here. You know what I mean? They change their tune, dude.
But I heard some good news today. Obama is not allowing oil drilling in the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
And Alaska. And that's another death knell for the oil industry.
Yeah.
And then I also heard about Elon Musk, the Tesla guy.
Elon Musk.
If you Google him, he's got a battery that for the house.
Oh, the house, yeah.
The house battery.
Yeah, and it's cheap. It's only $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your solar energy is stored in the battery, and the battery can run all night.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the whole knock on renewable energy sources was, that they don't have a storage capability, but that's being changed now.
Totally. And you could have them. He said it would take $1 billion to do the whole world, but we make there's 100,000 cars a year made, and so we do that with the battery.
Yeah, you see the coal and the oil people, they see the writing on the wall. They know what's inevitably going to happen. They're just trying their best to slow it down.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how I see the conservative movement. Yeah. Like the progressives are like, hey, we got solutions right here. Let's fucking do this. Let's do this. And then the conservatives are going, hey, there's a lot of fucking money involved here. Okay, hold on. I'm getting paid. Don't fuck it up, Slow it down. Slow this shit down. Let's talk about abortion. They're killing babies. Hey, these fuckers are killing babies. And then, well, why are you talking about killing babies? Well, they want to fucking take my job, you know what I mean? So that's the way my simplistic view of the two-party system.
You got it.
And I shouldn't give that much credit to the Democrats, because they're getting paid by the same people. So that's why I backed Bernie Sanders and the radical ones, because they're really trying to change society for good.
Well, they got nothing to lose.
No.
See, Bernie's got nothing to lose. Bernie said, you want to see my speeches to Wall Street? There it is.
Did I ever show you those memes where it's like a little video, whatever, and the kid says something nasty, and then it turns into, they start playing like gangster music, and it's like Thug Life, And And that's what Bernie's doing now. He did this one where Katie Couric is like, yeah, so Bernie, are you doing this to get us placed on Hillary's ticket as a vice president? And he goes, you mean, does Hillary want to be my vice president? You know, and he said a couple more of those things, and he's like, you mean when I'm going to be president? And it was like, he was just being gangster. He was like being like, don't bullshit me.
Don't
you know?
try that little shot.
Yeah.
Who knows? Bernie's getting close.
Listen, they've contacted you to do another push because today and tomorrow is very important.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, no, we're doing it right now. We're doing it, but this is a very important day because we need to get Ohio in order to stay in it. Basically, there's a couple states where if Hillary gets them, we're in trouble.
Yeah. I got a great idea for Bernie.
What?
I'm going to get a picture of Bernie.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to put my bong in his mouth.
Uh-huh.
And then it goes through his mouth and into the bong.
Uh-huh.
And then around the back, I can light it and smoke a bong with Bernie.
Yeah. Burn one with Bernie.
Burn one with Bernie.
I love it.
So we'll do that. We'll do that and make a video of it and send it to him. Okay?
Cool.
The sooner the better.
All right. So Dad, take us out.
Okay, this is the Tommy Chong podcast, and we will see you after the election.
The opinions expressed on this CannabisRadio.com program are those of the guests and hosts and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff and management of CannabisRadio.com. Any rebroadcast or redistribution without proper consent of CannabisRadio.com is prohibited.